In today's video, we are going to go over once again the best way to get through tier 3 to get schematics or just overall master the whole tier. I have recently been grinding it quite a lot, still on the hunt for my last few schematics, and one thing I will point out is if you are struggling to find them, it is kind of more difficult for some odd reason. I've noticed that playing it for a few hours every single day, I can only find 1 or 2 schematics here and there, and overall, if you don't know, it is heavily down to just luck. If you are unfortunately unlucky, then at the end of the day, that is just because the game chooses it for you. It's nothing to do with you, and if you kind of get to a stage where you want to give up, one thing I will tell you is just take a break, come back to it at a later date, and I promise you it will definitely be a tiny bit better because you won't be straight after giving up completely or having very little hope. Another thing is there's quite a few different weapons out there that I'd recommend for you, and I will have those specific builds for these weapons down in the description. The first one is the WSP Swarm submachine guns, and specifically with the aftermarket attachment which makes it dual wield. This thing is a beast. Another one is the Bruen shotgun. This thing is also really good. Then it's the Tyrs, and last one that I'd recommend is the Renneti, which is also really powerful. All 4 of these weapons will just make your life a bit easier. Another thing is when you go inside of tier 3, if you're a player who duplicates or a player who doesn't duplicate, I recommend for you to at least have purple rarity and try to complete pretty easy contracts, which I will be getting onto soon, to have a better experience inside of the location. Some of the most important things you need to bring inside of tier 3 to just have that slight bit of an advantage if you're playing solo or not solo. Also, by the way, we do have a Discord server link down in the description if you ever want to hop into it to find players to play with specifically for tier 3 or other stuff. There's just a bunch of people in there that are looking for help. Obviously, the most essential things are things like perks, which you can kind of guess which ones, stamina up to be able to run around faster, juggernaut, speed cola, quick revive, so on and so forth. But recently I made a discovery that the most important perk in my opinion is actually elemental pop. If you don't know how elemental pop works inside of Modern Warfare Zombies, it essentially activates at random points the different ammo mods that are inside of the game, and they kind of circle randomly through them. Another really cool thing with elemental pop is it gives you more power towards the special zombies. So for example, the Mega Abomination has a weakness to brain rot, and also the napalm blast, napalm burst, never really remember which one it is. Disciples can get taken out faster with dead wire, and elemental pop has the ability to activate it. But there's one more thing I really recommend for you to hop inside the tier with, and that is specifically brain rot, the ammo mod itself. Brain rot is a really huge help because it does have the random chance of, after shooting a zombie, even if your weapon isn't too powerful, spawning in a brain rot zombie that will protect you and go crazy on most of the zombies. The worst one to turn brain rot is definitely the hellhounds because, well, hellhounds won't be dealing enough damage on the zombies, but then they do deal a lot of damage on you. It's a bit of a confusing one, but this one is definitely a huge help. So all of those things are 100% what I recommend. And if you want to get into more detail, field upgrade wise, the energy mine is personally my favorite. It's like the default one, but it's really powerful. And if you ever want to get into more detail, for lethals I always use throwing knives because they seem to one-shot zombies that aren't covered in armor, and also a stim just because I prefer having that extra health. Also, going inside with triple armor is pretty vital just so you can replenish that armor really fast, and using vehicles is really good. But now, how do you get these schematics? Hopefully, fingers crossed if the RNG is on your side. Recently I've made a discovery. As of right now, there's actually 3 different contracts inside of Modern Warfare Zombies that should be your main priority to complete. The first one is obviously the cargo mission. The cargo mission is definitely going to be the easiest way, but it seems to have a higher rarity of actually spawning in recently. Prior to season 1 it was really common, but now it's kind of more difficult to find. And then if we move on to the next 2, which are going to be slightly challenging but are going to allow you to do them really fast because they're super common to spawn in. The first one is this Outlast mission, which is actually spawned around the area where you can complete the cargo run. So it's inside of this building, inside of this specific room, and if you do this, you run over to the big building, like this main hall area, and all you have to do is stay in this overall building, which is pretty big, allows you to run around a lot. But instead of running around a lot where you have to activate the actual Outlast mission, if you just simply run around the kind of upstairs circular area, you can outrun zombies and train them. I'm not not saying that it's going to be super easy, but it's definitely the easiest Outlast objective to complete. And then the next one, the last contract that I think is the best one to complete if you're not looking for challenging elites to take down with bounties, and that is this specific Spores contract. There's actually two different Spore contracts that can spawn in, and there's one that is basically, they're kind of overlapping one another basically, but one of them is higher up, one of them is lower down. So always go for the Spore contract that is lower down, because this one will again make you go back to that like main hall area of tier 3, and you just have to run around and take out the spores if you've ever obviously done this contract. This one is definitely the most challenging in my opinion, because there will be always a lot of zombies, and I do kind of go down a lot personally from my personal experience. But the reason this one is really good is because you can do this really fast, and the faster you can complete contracts, the better, because you've only so much time to do contracts inside of tier 3. And then obviously if you want, you can complete other contracts. I'm not specifically telling you just to do these are personally my favorites, and I'm trying to just share some knowledge that I'm learning from currently just absolutely grinding the hell out of Modern Warfare Zombies tier 3. And that's kind of it overall. Basically, just spawn in with the weapons that I recommended just to have a slightly better experience. Stamina up is going to be your best friend, including elemental pop and everything else just to make your life easier, and complete these 3 different contracts. If you have a gold rarity and pack a punch level 3 weapon, then definitely do some bounties, because that's another really fast way of taking out zombies. Mega abominations can sometimes take forever, especially since they have some powerful blasts, so preferably do like manglers, disciplers, or mimics if you can. And remember, you can always abandon your actual contract if you ever don't want to continue with any that are pretty difficult, because that can happen sometimes. And also, I don't know how true this is, but from my personal experience, it also does depend on what weapon you use to have a slightly better experience. There was one time when I was using an LMG inside of Modern Warfare Zombies, or specifically the RPK inside of tier 3, and I actually ended up going down 7 times. It's kind of crazy. I don't know if it's because you run around slower with the weapon, it takes forever to reload. So that's why, again, going back to those weapons, I think just using them will be your best option. So definitely test out the builds that I have down in the description. You don't have to use those attachments. If you have any better recommendations for weapons or attachments, then definitely be sure to comment them down below. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I've talked for long enough. If you did enjoy this video in any kind of way, definitely be sure to subscribe. I've made too many videos on schematics and stuff like that, but personally, I'm constantly learning some new methods, and I know I'm not the only one that is constantly looking for these themselves. And overall, this will probably change when season 1 reloaded comes out, so be expecting another even updated better video of how to get schematic. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe. 50,000 subscribers, here we come, and a like would also be very much appreciated. Peace out.